Hello and welcome to another first from Celtic. From the club that introduced the first weekly club newspaper in British football, we present the first regular video magazine, the Celtic Collection. They used to talk about the closed season in football, but Celtic Park was very much open for business right through the summer of '91. In the last days of May, Billy McNeill, one of the all-time Celtic greats, departed from the club. And within a couple of weeks, Liam Brady, one of the most gifted players in European football in the 70s and 80s, was introduced as the new Celtic manager. We were there on the day he came to Celtic Park to meet the Scottish press, and he gave his first interview to the Celtic Collection. Liam, how does it feel to be the manager of Celtic?
Tremendous. Very, very proud and very, very honoured. And I'm really looking forward to my new job.
You said though at one point that you wouldn't be interested in football management. How many jobs would you have taken?
Well, that's impossible to say. You know, unless you're offered, you can't really say. But let's say yes. I wasn't really interested in football management because I felt if I was going to start in it, I would have to start at the bottom levels and work my way up. But life plays funny tricks, and here I am. You know, coming in at the very top. And I think to myself, if I'm going to fail, well, you might as well fail at the top. But I'm not saying that that's going to be the case. I'm very confident that I'm going to bring success here to Celtic Park.
How much do you know about the traditions of Celtic? As a boy, for example, in Dublin, were you aware of this Glasgow giant?
Absolutely. There's Man United, there's Liverpool, and there's Celtic in Dublin. Not necessarily in that order. The 1967 team, Lisbon Lions, that was when I was really becoming interested in football. I was 11, 12, my most formative time thinking about football. And well, I never really followed anyone in particular, but I always followed players. And you know, in that team, Bertie Auld and Jimmy Johnson, very special.
There's a great family atmosphere here at Celtic Park, and they've always enjoyed the attacking football that was the hallmark of your play. Distinguished creative football. Is that what you hope to bring back to Celtic?
I know what the traditions are here, and I will try to live up to them. I think on the board appointed me, they knew what kind of football I believe in, and they think it's going to be acceptable by the people who come here to watch Celtic.
Liam Brady, well aware of the traditions of Celtic and looking forward to the task of managing the club. Well, within days, the players were back to Celtic Park for training, and the first stop was Strathclyde Park. Under the watchful eye of a man introduced to Scottish football by Liam Brady, the new first-team coach, a former Irish international player, Mick Martin.
17, 16, Pucky, what number are you? 4, 5, 7, what's this up, Jordan? 8, 9, Jack, Queen, 10, 11, header, volley, my fault, header, volley, let's walk off.
I like to have a bit of a laugh, and I like to have a bit of fun, and I like to see them with a smile on their face, and I wind them up. And if they step out of line, I come down on them. But none of them have stepped out of line yet, so I haven't had the opportunity to be hard.
Although you've done it for maybe 10 years or something, it's still always maybe the worst moment of the season, your first day of training. But it's something, once you're by the first day, you know, it's just a cruise from there.
Now, you just had your first meeting, I take it, with the new manager, Liam Brady. What were your first impressions?
He spoke very confidently, and he's a great player, and hopefully he'll be able to take all the experience he had as a player into his manager's job.
Do you think the actual preparation for the season will change, given the amount of experience he had in Italian football? Is he likely to introduce some ideas into the Scottish game here?
Yes, I hope so, yeah. As I said, he's had a lot of experience abroad playing, and hopefully he can help all of the players at Parkhead at the moment to go from strength to strength, and hopefully play with a lot more confidence this year, and maybe get a steady rhythm through this season, maybe something we're lacking the last couple of years.
After assessing the playing staff, Liam Brady's first major signing was the £1.1 million paid to Aston Villa for the Irish international striker Tony Cascarino. Within hours, he was on board the flight to Dublin along with Liam Brady, assistant Tommy Craig, and the new coach Mick Martin for the important pre-season tour of Ireland. crowd of 10,000 turned up for the first test. Wherever Celtic go, there's a huge following of supporters, many of them from Dublin itself, but some of them had come across on holiday to Ireland. And everyone was there to see Liam Brady, his first match in charge. A battery of Irish and Scottish photographers to herald what they hoped would be a great start to his career as boss. And Tony Cascarino getting a word from club skipper Paul McStay on his debut. The fans in fine form, and it wasn't long before Celtic were on the score sheet. Cascarino and Nicholas combining there. Could that be a portent of things to come in the new season? Charlie always enjoys his trip to Ireland. Remember back in 1983, after scoring 50 goals that season, he was in fine form in Ireland. And 2 minutes later, he was on the goals trail again. Chris Morris combining there with Charlie to make it 2-0. That's how things stood at half-time. Manager Brady made a few changes, throwing on Tommy Coyne for Cascarino and Mark McNally coming on for Joe Miller. 15 minutes remaining, and young Steve Fulton showed some excellent build-up work, and Stevie also showed that he packs a punch as well. So the fans go home happy, and a 3-0 win to boot. It was a great start to the tour, wasn't it, that game?
Yes, and the conditions were lovely, a lovely little stadium. They've worked very, very hard there, and I think it suited us. We played some lovely football in it, and we scored the goals, which was important.
So an early night for Packy and the rest of the squad, because the following morning they were up at 5:30 for the short flight from Dublin to Cork in a match against Cork City. Jerry McCabe and Mike Conroy, Mike a former Celtic player, two Scots in the lineup. But this was to prove a more difficult task than the first match. Although Celtic had the early chances. A crowd of 6,000 there, hoping to see another Celtic win. The early pressure with Cascarino combining well there with Mike Galloway, but on that occasion, just going past the post. They say there are no pushovers in football nowadays, and this proved to be the case. A fine stop by Packy, but Cork were there to get the rebound. Caulfield, the scorer on this occasion, and the small band of Cork fans can hardly believe their luck against the mighty Celtic. If ever there was proof needed of Packy Bonner's popularity in Ireland, this is it. The keeper was swamped on his way to the dressing room at half-time, so much so that they felt he shouldn't come out during the second half to allow the match to get back underway. Pat Bonner, a real hero in Ireland, and he was replaced by young Mark McLean, a great chance for him in first-team action. Other changes saw Andy Walker come on for Jackie Jakanowski and Jerry Craney for Tony Cascarino. And Stevie Fulton almost levelled for Celtic with this fine effort. Just past the post. But it was at the other end, and the former Accies man, look out for Jerry McCabe, on the ball now, providing the cross, which was to trouble the Celtic defence. Some good play in the wing, and the head of Fergal Cultinen there to beat Packy and to send the home fans wild. 2-0 to Cork, a difficult game for Celtic. Some people calling you Tommy O'Coin over here in Ireland. There's been a lot in the Irish papers and television and radio that you could be playing for Jack Charlton's team. How would you feel about it? Would you rather play for Scotland or Ireland?
I don't have any preference, to be honest, Paul. I would be delighted to whoever asks me, if I get asked. It's nice to read a paper and people are putting you in that bracket, but you've just got to wait and see if the manager picks you.
A lot of people have got an awful lot of respect for you, particularly since you took a lot of stick, you took a lot of criticism a year or so ago in the newspapers and television and radio at home. How did you feel about that?
I think that's just par for the course with the job. I think if you're not doing well, you've got to expect to get some criticism, maybe undue in some parts, but you've just got to accept it and maybe have a last laugh when things go good.
You think you'll be having the last laugh this season?
I hope so, yeah. I'll be trying my best anyway.
Well, there weren't too many laughs on the Friday evening when, in the summer sunshine, they made the trip to the border town of Dundalk and the match against the local side. Again, a big crowd, 10,000, but a feature of this game was the crowd spilling onto the pitch on several occasions, and that made it very difficult for the players to concentrate. The manager shuffled the pack in the second half to try to break the deadlock. Andy Walker coming on for Jerry Craney and Tommy Coyne for Joe Miller. but the men from Dundalk were difficult to break down. Pat Bonner showing here why he's clearly Ireland's #1 goalkeeper. A save enjoyed by the crowd in the sunshine in Dundalk. And another example of Packy's prowess here. Note how the fans are getting closer and closer to the touchline. By half-time, the Garda and the stewards were moving in to try to get the enthusiastic fans back behind the barricades, while Celtic tried to get in the score sheet. No need to tell Charlie that he could have done better on that occasion, although Charlie enjoying great success in the pre-season tour. And because of the tackle coming up, he was to find himself club captain for the early weeks of the season. This crude challenge on Paul McStay put paid to the captain's hopes of starting the season in his familiar number 8.
Yeah, a good start last weekend. We've let ourselves down in the second game against Cork. We were very disappointing. But I think we bounced back a wee bit last night. OK, it was a very, very difficult game. And Dundalk never wanted to play in the game. But we've enjoyed it. The boys have enjoyed the break. We've got together again. We've got a good team spirit, and that's what we're aiming for, and hopefully we carry on into the season.
Pre-season tour came to an enjoyable conclusion with the side recording a fine victory in the final match of the 4-game trip. The best weather of the week and some of the best football so far. Just watch this goal after 9 minutes from Cascarino. A fine strike, and it was enjoyed by every one of the 18,000, with the Shamrock Rovers fans singing in turn for their own side and for the visiting Celts. Liam Brady, Mick Martin and Brian Scott clearly enjoying it in the sunshine. And Cascarino came close again. It was the kind of conditions Celtic always enjoy. Into the second half, and Charlie Nicholas came close with this effort. The tour gave manager Liam Brady the chance to see all his players in action. Mark McNally coming on for Stevie Fulton, Martin Hayes for Joe Miller. Andy Walker was replaced by Jerry Craney, but before Charlie went off, he wanted to get back on the score sheet. He combines well here. Tony Cascarino for Anton Rogan. And Charlie pops up to finish the tour with an excellent headed goal. A very worthwhile trip then to Ireland.
Yes, it's always a great pleasure to come over here, Paul, and whilst the 4 games have been all quite different in the way they were played, it's obviously been a learning experience, particularly for Liam and Mick, who are really seeing the players for the first time, and I'm sure they've benefited greatly from the 4 games here.
I know you enjoyed yourself around Dublin, and you were down at St Mary's Baldoyle, and we saw some of the children down there. It's good to see Liam, Tony and yourself taking time out for the less privileged.
Yes, well, I mean, every time I come to Dublin I go to Baldoyle to see the children in the hospital there, and I was really delighted that 2, if you like, new Celtic men in the shape of Liam and Tony were so quickly into the swing of things and happy to join me in a visit to the hospital.
So a very successful trip in the sunshine of Ireland. Within days, Celtic were back on the plane, this time heading to the capital. They were just 1 week away from a match against Tottenham Hotspur, the FA Cup holders. But first of all, in a testimonial game, they had to face the English champions, Arsenal. There was a remarkable crowd at Highbury, 30,000 for a friendly match. A nostalgic trip for manager Liam Brady back at his first senior club where he enjoyed so much success, and also a return for Charlie Nicholas, after Charlie moved there in 1983 after leaving Celtic Park. A great atmosphere then for what was to turn out to be a truly memorable testimonial match, and Charlie coming close on that occasion. English goalkeeper David Seaman not knowing much about that one from Charlie. John Collins and Tommy Coyne combining well in this effort, with Charlie showing all his skills, and his finishing was lethal. A great Celtic goal, and no apologies for showing this one again. Charlie, the captain of Celtic for the night, thoroughly enjoying his return to Highbury. However, a defensive error allowed the Gunners to come back into the match. Celtic piled on the pressure at the other end. And the question everyone was asking is, how did this one stay out? "70 minutes gone and the sides locked at 1-1 when Arsenal are awarded a penalty. Lee Dixon steps forward. Pat Bonner looks confident. A good stop, but Dixon is there to give the Gunners the lead. When you think of the recent crowds at the European nights across England and Scotland, Celtic with 27,000 in the match against Ekeren, Liverpool with just 17,000, then you realise that 30,000 for a testimonial is quite remarkable. But the Celtic fans hadn't travelled 500 miles to see a Celtic defeat. And with this free kick after 75 minutes, they were ensured a credible draw. Watch out for Darius Dobček. David Seaman won't see too many goals like that go past him in this coming season. A wonderful goal ending Celtic's away pre-season tour. Just one match left, but before it, a chance to see this goal again, preparing Celtic for the match against Tottenham Hotspur a few days later back at Celtic Park. Derek, you must hate to be out today for this match. You picked up a knock on Tuesday.
Yeah, at first I thought it was a stress fracture. Fortunately for me, it was just a bad bruising in my shin. And to play against the cup winners in England would be tremendous. The pitch was looking great and the big crowd, so disappointed I'm missing it.
Of course, you watched Spurs last week in Ireland.
Yeah, watched them against Shelbourne. We beat Shelbourne 3-0. I don't think we'll have any problems beating Spurs today here.
The Celtic Collection will show you behind the scenes at Celtic Park. Here's a unique insight into the dressing room just minutes before kick-off. Liam Brady, Mick Martin and Tommy Craig have last-minute preparations, with Liam and Tommy laying out exactly how the team will line up against the English FA Cup holders. A crowd of almost 24,000 was there on the Sunday sunshine at Celtic Park for Liam Brady's first home game and the side's first test at Celtic Park just on the eve of the new season. And it was a big afternoon for one young player, Brian O'Neill, in the side and making his mark. A goal for Celtic, John Collins there taking advantage of the excellent lead-up work, and the Celtic fans delighted with the first glimpse of the new side. It was also a big day for young Mark Donaghy coming on for Jerry Craney. More young Celtic players coming through to ensure a good future for the club. There was to be no further scoring, and that was the end then of the pre-season tour.
Gary, how did you enjoy your visit to Celtic Park today?
Well, very much. I thought it was quite a good game, a lot of good football played. Should have been one or two more goals. I missed one, but I missed them before, so I don't worry too much about that. But it was entertaining, the crowd were in good spirits, and I would think everybody enjoyed it.
It's interesting watching you and Packy Bonner up against each other again. You've played against each other so often in different circumstances for your countries.
That's right, I've never played, it's the first I've actually ever played against Celtic, be it here or be it anywhere. It's my first visit here. I've usually played Packy, of course, when he's been playing for the Republic, and we've had a few battles there, but he's one of the best goalkeepers around. He's very dependable, and he made one or two good saves again today.
It was time for the preparations to end. The talking was over, and the serious business now of getting down to the Premier League, the Skull Cup, the Scottish Cup, and the European action.
Hogan firing in the high one. Trouble here for United. It's a goal for Celtic. Charlie Nicholas scores Celtic's first goal of the season. Dobček. By Cleland. Mascherino for Celtic. It's a little touch from Coyne. And he scores number 2. That was magnificent play between Tommy Coyne and Charlie Nicholas. So a chance for United to get themselves back in the game. Tremendous penalty kick by Michael O'Neill. Sweeney. Collins. Collins! Oh, marvellous goal! A wonderful goal from John Collins. Breaks out to John O'Neill. And United pull another one back. Play by McKinley. Bowman. Chances on here. Oh, marvellous goal by Duncan Ferguson. Collins. Oh, marvellous goal by John Collins.
Gillespie started the move. Tommy Coyne helped him beat offside and go on to finish like a seasoned striker. It was clearly going to be Celtic's day. Steve Fulton, Tony Cascarino and Charlie Nicholas provide the build-up. Tommy Coyne provides the finish. Celtic 2 up. 10 minutes later, Nicholas sends Cascarino on a run. And guess who's waiting in the middle? Yes, it's 2 for Coyne and 3 for Celtic. 5 minutes into the second half, Celtic were 4 up. Gillespie starts the move, his pass beating the Falkirk offside trap. Grant's run and cross. And John Collins scores his 3rd goal of the season. And with only a couple of minutes left, Falkirk finally scored their consolation goal. Kevin McAllister battling with White and Rogan before substitute Crawford Bapty gets his chance.
A scarf and a tammy. That was all the fan needed in the 50s and the 60s and maybe even the 70s. But in the 80s and now in the 90s, an essential part of the kit for the modern fan is the jersey. And there was controversy recently when Celtic introduced a new away strip. But what do you think of it? We went along to the recent Celtic St Mirren game to find out.
I think it's beautiful. it's dead different and all that.
Just doesn't look like Celtic at all.
Just like the colours, nice change. It's a wee bit like a new Scotland strip as well with the design it.
It's not the boys without the hoops. No, sorry.
Look at in the paper, it wasn't very nice, but you see it close up, it's nice.
Aye, it's quite smart. I never liked it at first. When I seen Bobby Murdoch wearing it, but that's no surprising with him wearing it. No, that's quite smart.
Right. Well, it's a bit radical, but I'll go with it.
No, it's quite good, and I like the way the triangle goes in it, and it's a good design. It's all right. It's not bad.
We're a bit old, you see, so old people find change is different. The young ones take to change good.
Rubbish.
I don't know, it sort of grows on you a bit. It was shocking when it first came in, but I think it grows on you a wee bit.
I think it's bogging. It's horrible. It's horrible.
It's very nice. Very nice indeed. First I didn't, I thought, well, it's a bit over the top, but it grows on you.
No, it's just like 40 shades of green in it.
And what about the man from Umbro? Does he say yes to the new strip?
Well, I think you only need to see the number of strips that are around on the streets. Without a doubt, I would say it's the best-selling strip we've ever had. You know, and again, not just within the UK, but internationally. The likes of Italy, the Italian market, where we're very strong as a company, you know, we're selling a lot of Celtic product, and in fairness, a lot of that is down to the fact that the design is very radical, and you know, people are buying it as a leisure shirt rather than just being a Celtic product. But obviously, you know, the fact that it's a good design with the Celtic badge helps, you know, both the club and ourselves.
Ex-Parkhead player Alex Matthews started the move, sending Derek McInnes off on the goal trail. An excellent finish prompting tremendous celebrations. This John Collins shot hitting the post. And Charlie Nicholas ready for the rebound. That late challenge by defender Mark Pickering spoiled Charlie's celebrations. Celtic's second was set up by Steve Fulton and scored by Jerry Craney. The Fulton-Craney combination also provided the third. A fortunate defender's deflection on the way, but no question about the finish. So Celtic 3-1 up. They went further ahead before half-time. This goal demonstrating how Charlie Nicholas is as sharp as ever. In the second half, with just 10 minutes of the game left, one of Morton's new boys, Graham Ogg, pulled one back.
That's a fine turn by Grant. Here's Fulton. Measuring the pass for Rogan, testing the pace of Van de Ven, the early ball inside. Brilliantly taken there by Coyne. No sign of nastiness any stage so far. There's a careless one from Bent. There's Craney. Jim Bent was hanging his head in shame there as Craney broke onto his bad back pass. White with his shadow. Big fella showing good close control. There's Hillhouse, a great chance for Aberdeen. A goal of supreme quality.
Well, a man who's worn the tammy and the scarf, and he's worn the jersey with pride, scoring many goals for Celtic. Charlie Nicholas, one of the favourite post-war Celtic players. The Cannonball Kid, Champagne Charlie. He left for Arsenal after scoring 50 goals in 1983. He was back at the club after a spell at Aberdeen in the summer of 1990. And this year, in the absence of Paul McStay, he started off captaining the side that he loves.
Yes, I mean, I've got great memories of the club, but this room holds probably most of the funniest memories and the most excitable memories in here. It goes back to '79 really, Hugh, when I used to clean all the boots in here with some of the younger lads at that time, apprentices. We stole the jerseys for a night, took the kit away from Nearly Mocking, the 4A's War jerseys, and went over to the jungle and stood in the jungle, and we beat Rangers 4-2 that night to win the league. So there's a lot of history from all players, and there's a lot of memories for me.
You have such a strong affection for Celtic. Why did you ever leave the club in the first place, Charlie?
Well, it was obviously financially it became that I had to leave. It's a waste of time looking back now and saying that Celtic should offer me more or whatever. That happened. That was the state of play at the times. It's changed. It's turned round about hopefully since then. Hopefully Celtic have learned their lesson and players learn their lessons. But look, it was great sadness that I had to leave. But it was, I mean, when I look back now, I think I would have had to have done it in the same circumstances again. But it was just the upbringing really from my father, my father's families. It's always been Celtic orientated, and it's like. I mean, it's just like a family to me now, Celtic.
In a red jersey with first Arsenal and then Aberdeen, how difficult did you find it to play against Celtic?
Oh, incredibly difficult. Obviously, as you know, I got a few barrackings when I first came back from some supporters, but understandable. I can understand how they felt emotionally, really, that night. I mean, I was cringing inside myself at times, but I had to do it. It was something I had to do for quite a few years, and just go on with it. I did it the best I could, but I don't think I ever really played well against Celtic.
Could you feel the fans willing you to do well for Celtic when you came back from Pittodrie?
Yes, I did. I was obviously out quite a lot with injury, but when I came back for Pittodrie, I think there's obviously apprehension from the supporters, because obviously I left when I was younger, and probably at that time the team was more exciting and we were successful. So to come back as an older player, slowed down, not as fit as what I was then. Yeah, I mean, they're apprehensive, so was I. But hopefully now they're starting to see Charlie playing properly for Celtic again.
In fact, some people, Charlie, think that you should retain the captaincy, which you've had since the start of the season.
No, I'll make it perfectly clear. It's not up for grabs. I'm not after it. It's Paul McStay's, and it'll stay Paul McStay's.
Watch this for footwork as he slips between Darius Dovcek and Derek White. The layoff to David Sinclair, and the perfect finish from Mackenzie, one of the goal heroes from last week's triumph over Motherwell. A few minutes later, Craney's run and shot forced a marvellous save from Gordon Arthur. But Joe Miller was ready to score from the most acute of angles. And Celtic finally went ahead midway through the second half. Galloway to Morris, and despite claims to the goal by both Walker and Craney, it was in fact an own goal by Jimmy Nicholl. The replay shows Walker's touch was enough to move the ball onto Nicholl's left thigh and into the net. 3 minutes later, Celtic were 2 ahead. Craney and Miller start the move, and a brilliant piece of work from Andy Walker sets up Fulton for the goal he's been waiting for. And doesn't that show?
Celtic fans are scattered around the world. In every corner of the globe, there seems to be a Celtic supporters club. The affiliation of Celtic supporters clubs recently held a night at Celtic Park, and they welcomed fans from across the water for a great evening with players from the past and present, as well as the fans at Celtic Park.
This was the grand finale of the Registered Celtic Supporters Roadshow, which was sponsored by Confederation Life. We had a roadshow which toured the country, all over the place. Tonight epitomises what it's all about. What a finale, ex-players, ex-manager, a really good Celtic evening.
Question number 7. Who won the European Nations Championship in 1974 to 76? Who won the European Nations Championship in 74-76?
I'd like to think that Celtic supporters who are farther away from Celtic Park enjoy this occasion. We can bring them a bit of solemnity, a bit of glamour. We can make this the biggest occasion that's in their area possible for the whole year. They thoroughly enjoy it. They can hear wee stories, wee tidbits, things that's happened in the past, things that's happened in the present, possible things will happen in the future.
Tonight's winners with 22, the Lomond Celtic Supporters Club.
The prize for the winners tonight is to follow Celtic to Europe in relation to the game in Belgium. And the 4 winning teams tonight from Lomond CSC, that's the prize they got.
During the momentous Jock Stein era, a very popular visitor to Celtic Park was none other than 007 himself, Sean Connery. Well, long after he handed back his licence to thrill, countless films and an Oscar later, he returned to Celtic Park recently. Could this be a good omen for the future?
Well, yes, I'm very excited about the possibility of the match here today. And I haven't been back here for so many years. It's always, well, it hasn't really coincided with my free time.
I see Kenny Dalglish here today, some of the great Celts of the past. Who would you pin as your all-time favourite Celtic player?
Well, there were so many different types of players that I liked. I liked Charlie Tully when he was here, who was, of course, more Irish than Scottish, but was still a great Celtic player. And Jimmy Delaney, and Kenny, and of course, I mean, there's always been, and a wonderful player was Fernie, who would have been, I think, running around in Italy by now, I should think, had he been. I don't know what they're all doing, these guys now. I saw Dennis Law the other day on the television. He's still thrashing around, looks exactly the same. But, okay. Coming up. Is Kenny Dalglish here today? No.
Kenny is here for the match, yes.
Is
so
he? Oh, well, I look forward to seeing him. Yeah.
Finally, then, we'll let you get on with Mr. Cassidy. Your prediction, though, for the big match this afternoon?
I have no idea. We're just talking about it in there, and it doesn't matter what position either team's in, whether it's the top or the bottom of the league, or out of the cup or in the cup. It's always different. It's always a surprise result. Yeah. I just hope it's a great game. There's plenty of excitement. There always is, you know. You don't have to import anything like that for this. But
Celtic's still a bit special for you.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. It was a great chance, surprise to be able to come here today, and I'm sure the game will live up to it.
Here's Haythwaite in the clear. It's a great chance for Rangers. Haythwaite against Bonner. Brilliant play from Haythwaite. Rangers take the lead. Good play by Rogan. Gaskinger couldn't get there. Stopped by David Robertson. There's Fulton. Showing good close control. There's Rogan again. A great opportunity for Derek White. It's played on well by Haythwaite for Johnston. Here's Haythwaite again, switching to his left foot. It's a second for Rangers. Red flick on there, the chance on now for Cascarino. Brilliantly saved by Conan.
Nothing stays the same in football, and here at Celtic there have been many changes over the past year. In January, the introduction of the first ever chief executive, Terry Cassidy. We went along to Celtic Park to find out his plans for the club.
Well, I think there are two parts, as there are in any other plan. One is, what do we do in the short term? And that centres around, obviously, the lack of facilities that we have in the park. For example, we make it very difficult for people to buy Celtic products. All you've got to do is try and buy something in the shop on a match day, and you get 6 people in the shop and it's packed. We make it very difficult for people to buy something to eat. And if on a good day, if you're lucky, you'll get a bovril and a pie. In the short term, we can look at trying to do something like that, and at the moment, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of pounds, which should be coming to Celtic, are going to either pirate product makers or pie people along the way, which we should have. In the short term, we can look at things like that. In the short term on the field, we obviously have to see what can be done, particularly in the way of domestic trophies, to be won with virtually the current squad. But hand in hand, both of those things, as far as the future is concerned, have got to be planned, which includes on the field as well as off the field. And I think within weeks of coming here, it seemed to me that it was, I guess, perhaps a 2-year job to plan for the future, to lay down the foundations, and then the idea being, 2 years after that, you'd be talking about perhaps a decade of success. I think that it would not be unfair to say that Liam Brady's now arrived at the same conclusion, because here we've got sufficient talent to do reasonably well in Scotland, and potential talent in some of the younger boys to do exceptionally well, given that period of planning and of course maturity on their part, both physical and mental maturity in getting to know the game. So whilst I think a lot of the fans might be thinking to themselves, things haven't changed and here we go again, they have changed an awful lot, and I think that most of the fans that certainly I talk to or speak to understand that, and their analysis of Celtic Football Club and what's gone on and what goes on is quite astounding, actually. Anybody who thinks that Celtic supporters are a bit dumb, all they've got to do is read the letters that I get, and they're amazingly accurate in summing up, the club from where we are.
Do you have a problem about Rangers? Do you think the club has a problem about Rangers?
Some people undoubtedly are, both in the support and within the building. I think that there's a danger if you're not careful, you get hung up on that and you forget what you're about. And the real answer to the rivalry between Celtic and Rangers, or Celtic and anybody else, is to be better than them. That's the only answer. People can spend so many time brooding and thinking about it that they forget to get on with the job. And I'm a big believer. I'd rather have the opposition looking over their shoulders at me than me looking over my shoulder at the opposition. What we've had is people almost being happy to have said that this great club, and I think what we've got to get across to people is that it isn't a great club. It's a once great club, and what we're about is making it a great club again.
Ask any Celtic fan, and the chances are he or she will tell you that their greatest memory is a European night. It's 2 years since there's been a European night at Celtic Park, and the collection was there to capture Celtic's return to Europe.
Gillespie. Nicholas getting away from his tight marker. Looks for Collins to move. Chance for John Collins. Down he goes. The referee's awarding a penalty. Eckerd are protesting, and the referee's immediately searching for a card. A yellow card. And Collins going into the box. Beats one man. Here he comes, and he had his jersey pulled there, and down he went. Nicholas, 91 goals in his career at Celtic Park. And there's number 92.
Fulton. Space for the shot, deflected. Oh, there it is! Nicholas gets his second, and Celtic's second. This was Fulton's skill to create the opening. The low ball caused problems, and Nicholas snaps up those chances.
Celtic, in the green and white hoops, started in Belgium from a position of strength. They arrived at Ekeren's tight little ground in the suburbs of Antwerp with a 2-0 advantage from the first leg. And after only 10 minutes, Frank Galloway had padded the cushion. Galloway missed the first leg through suspension. But once Tommy Coyne gave him the nod, he didn't miss here. 4 minutes from half-time, Ekeren finally broke through. Laurent Ballonguillon's cross, and this time, Schmoller's header finds its mark.
Celtic have always prided themselves on their style of football. Open, attacking, exciting, lots of goals. But we hear nowadays that youngsters often aren't allowed to express themselves. So in a regular series for our younger viewers, we start the new Celtic Collection training guide with Scotland coach and Celtic assistant manager Tommy Craig.
Well, from a very early age, I've always been a great believer in just playing with the ball. If a kid is fortunate enough to have a ball, and I think these days most kids will be that lucky, I think it's just a case of not setting up any clever exercise. It's letting the boy, or the girl for that matter, just deal with the ball on a keep-it-up basis. We've got young lads at our ground here, and without trying to be too technical, we encourage them to go and play with the ball, take a ball each more often than not. Sometimes we split up into 2s and 3s, but in the main, if we can get the boys playing with the ball often enough, I feel that the control of the ball becomes better very quickly. You feel free on it, feel relaxed on it. Anything goes, whatever you feel you want to do, as long as you're controlling the ball. It takes hard work to do that, because it's very, very easy to say, well, this is too easy. And it's amazing how many players who think it's too easy can't do it for long enough. Now, you've all done very well there, and it's only because, number one, the concentration was right, number two, your control was very good, and number three, you wanted to keep up. You wanted to control the ball. We're into a little bit of dribbling with the ball between your feet now. The important aspect of this exercise is whilst you're dribbling with the ball, I don't want you looking down at it. I want you to look straight ahead of you, but still be able to see the ball. This is partly viewed for your control and partly for your vision. On you go, anywhere about the square. You keep your head up. Now again, it might seem very, very easy, but work at it so you don't lose possession. You maybe hear me harp on about master the ball, make the ball do what you want it to do. And if we can get enough of our youngsters in total control of the ball, we feel they're going to be better players for it.
But Celtic had the edge in the first half, and Charlie Nicholas was about to confirm that in the most emphatic style. So 1-0 to Celtic, and some interesting sign language coming up between Charlie Nicholas and Joe Miller. With 12 minutes to go, Weir's corner sets up McGinley. At first glance, Steve Fulton seems to have made a miraculous stop on the line, but referee Sandy Roy awards a goal after looking to his linesman. McGinley and his teammates had already started to celebrate, and the replay shows why. The positioning of Steve Fulton's feet is the crucial point. His right foot starts on the line, so it follows that his left foot was behind when it made contact with the ball.
Looking for the breakthrough. Mike Galloway. Little turn again by Gillespie. The ball prodded off there by John Miller. Can Henry Smith gather? No, it's gone for the corner kick, despite the protestations of Henry Smith. Tommy Coyne knows it's over, and Celtic have the first opportunity. Miller drives the corner back. Good header by McNally. Oh, what a goal! And his first goal for the club, and who wouldn't celebrate? Oh, brilliant header there from Mark McNally, and his teammates share his delight. Joe Miller driving it back. He's not picked up there by Ian Baird, and that's down just inside the post, and Henry Smith helpless. Derek Ferguson to Robertson popping up in the right. Celtic to fear the danger with Derek White. Oh, he's robbed. Gives it away. Robertson, oh, punishes the error. Great finishing by John Robertson. But what a disaster that was for Derek White. Charging forward. Coyne just gets away there, but Mackay, does he take him down? Is that a penalty? Yes, referee Jim McCluskey in no doubt. Despite the protest from Gary Mackay, the ball was going nowhere. It was really a reckless tackle, a needless tackle. And Charlie Nicholas' third penalty of the season. 100% record, beautifully taken. Henry Smith, not unearthly. Didn't I do well, says little Charlie. But that's Charlie Nicholas' last involvement in the match. And on comes Tony Cascarino, the record signing from Aston Villa for £1.1 million. Still looking for his first goal though, after 10 appearances for Celtic. Again towards John Robertson, and to set up Scott Crabb. Good break from the midfield though by Joe Milne. A lovely pass away to that far side to Tommy Coyne. Cascarino's through the centre. Can Coyne find him? Does find him. Oh, the ball just gets beyond Henry Smith, and that is Tony Cascarino's first ever goal in the green and white hoops. And his teammates come to celebrate. They know what that means to the big striker. I don't think he hit it absolutely perfectly, but what a great break again from Celtic's Joe Miller. Tommy Coyne, the perfect pass, and just off the right heel, but good enough to squeeze inside Henry Smith's right-hand post. Derek Ferguson will take it, right-footed. Levine goes down. Chance though for Alan McLaren, and the ball deflected away for a corner kick on the far side. McLaren looking for something more. Mike Galloway says nothing should be given, and it'll be a corner kick to Hearts. Or will it? Linesman Robert Orr calls over Jim McCluskey, and this has to be bad news for somebody. It's Tony Cascarino. Well, we saw Craig Levine going down there, and Levine goes across to indicate something to his face. Let's just look at this action again. The free kick from Ferguson, and there, highlighted, is a right hook from Cascarino that would have done justice to Frank Bruno. The result is 6 minutes only on the pitch, 1 goal and a red card. And also a penalty kick too for Hearts, and this could give them a lifeline back into the match. Remember, it's 3-1 for Celtic, and John Robertson's had an excellent record this season. He scored penalties against both Airdrie and Hamilton Accies. Can he make it 3 out of 3? Bonner's there. Good stop by the big keeper, who's had a record of saving important penalties against Romania in the World Cup. He also saved one against Aberdeen. He's moving early. The referee doesn't spot that though, and a fine block by Paki Bonner.
Already, he's experienced the ups and downs of life as manager of Celtic. But a final word from Liam Brady.
We've played all the teams in Scotland in the Premier Division, so I've had a chance to size up the opposition. I've had a chance to realise what it's like being manager of a famous club like Celtic, what that entails. Really, it's my learning period is over. Simple as that. I've had the quarter of the season, 3-4 months to get to know my players and to get to know what the Scottish Premier Division is all about. You ask yourself questions, but this job is worth it. It's worth the hassle you get when you lose matches. It's worth the hounding you get from the press when you lose matches, when things are not going right. It's worth being unpopular with your board of directors if the results are not right, because this club is special. Okay, I've had a long career in football, but it was my first managerial position, so really I didn't know what the management game was all about. I'm a rookie, so it is a difficult task. We haven't got the resources that other clubs have, but I reckon with hard work from everybody, from the very top to the very bottom, and the uniqueness of Celtic Football Club, we can be successful and quickly.
Well, competition time now, and your chance to win a brand new Celtic jersey. and we have 10 new away strips to give away. Just look back on this first Celtic Collection and tell us which team changed strip at half-time. Send your answers to the Celtic Collection, PO Box 166, Glasgow G2 6BY. Well, the whistle's gone. Time is up. I hope you've enjoyed this first edition of the Celtic Collection. If you have any comments, please send them to us here at the Celtic Collection. But from all of us, for the moment, bye-bye for now.